That summer was supposed to be the best of my life. I had just graduated high school, and for the first time in forever, I had zero responsibilities. No classes, no job pressure, no deadlines. Just freedom. In my hometown in Wyoming, there's this tradition, or at least my friends and I like to think of it as one. After graduation, you drive out into the wide-open plateaus and go rock climbing. It's a kind of rite of passage, a way of saying, yeah, I'm free, I'm ready to take on whatever's next. So my best friends, Alex, Nick, Jack, and I finally decided to do it. Alex had the only car tough enough to handle the back roads, a Jeep she adored. She was also our designated driver since she didn't drink, which worked perfectly, because the rest of us had packed a couple beers to celebrate once we reached the top. We started the day at Flaming Gorge Lookout, soaking in that unreal Wyoming view. Then, while driving down Highway 141, we spotted this perfect climbing spot. Big rocks, not too dangerous, but enough to feel like an adventure. We grabbed our gear and started climbing, Alex leading the way. When we reached the top, it felt like magic. Endless wilderness stretched out in every direction. We cracked open our drinks and just breathed it in. For a while, life was perfect. But then, things took a sharp turn. Down on the highway, a red pickup truck suddenly screeched to a stop, then reversed right into the lot where Alex's Jeep was parked. At first, we thought nothing of it. Just another traveler, maybe. But then we saw the man get out and start circling Alex's car, checking windows, tugging at the handles. Nick shouted down to let him know the Jeep wasn't abandoned. The man looked startled, spotted us, and even waved. We thought that would scare him off, but no. He kept going. That's when Jack shouted that we had weapons, a bluff. The man laughed, shouted back, "Me too, kiddo," and waved what looked like a gun. My blood ran cold. What happened next was chaos. He started smashing at the Jeep's windows. We scrambled down the rocks as fast as we could. By the time we hit the ground, he'd shattered the glass. When we rushed toward him, he turned, aimed his gun, and forced us to stop. We froze. He made us throw our phones and wallets to the ground, then stood there with the gun pointed at us the whole time while he collected everything. Before leaving, he punctured Alex's tire with a knife, then got back into his truck, no license plates, and drove away like nothing happened. We were shaken, angry, powerless. Alex was furious, but mostly we were just grateful to still be alive. We managed to change the tire and get back to town, but by then he was long gone. The police couldn't do much without plates or solid details. That night, it hit me how quickly freedom can turn into fear. One moment, you're on top of the world, feeling invincible. The next, you realize how fragile life really is. And here's the lesson I carry from that day. Never take safety for granted. Even when you're chasing adventure, stay alert. Prepare for the unexpected. Because courage isn't just about climbing rocks. It is about knowing when to protect yourself and your friends. 3 years ago, I was 19 and on the adventure of a lifetime. My brother Luke had just graduated from college in California, and we were driving cross-country back home to New Jersey. He'd built up 4 years' worth of furniture, books, and random stuff, so we rented a U-Haul and hit the road. Now, our parents had one very clear warning. Be careful in New Mexico, don't stop unless you absolutely have to. At first, everything went according to plan. We soaked in Zion, stood in awe at the Grand Canyon, and drove through Arizona's stunning deserts. But once we hit New Mexico, things got strange, fast. The U-Haul guzzled gas way faster than Luke expected, and before long we were running low. Our only option was a tiny town about 10 miles ahead with one lonely gas station. From the moment we pulled in, I felt off. The town was eerily quiet. Locals stared at us a little too long. And inside, this man leaned against the convenience store wall, smoking and watching me. I tried to brush it off, but the unease lingered. After filling up, Luke tried to get us back on the highway. The problem? Every road we took seemed to bend away from it. Even though we could see the highway, we couldn't reach it. GPS barely worked, leading us in circles. It was like being stuck in a maze someone didn't want us to escape. Frustrated, Luke went back into the gas station for directions. The clerk was overly friendly, almost too convincing. He told Luke to drive 17 miles in the opposite direction of the highway, through isolated back roads, to find an on-ramp. Luke came back uneasy, whispering, "I don't trust this. Something's wrong." That's when things escalated. As we sat in the van trying to figure out our next move, a dusty pickup truck pulled up. The driver leaned out, asking if we were lost. Luke cautiously explained the directions we'd been given. The man's expression changed instantly. He told us bluntly not to follow them. Those roads, he said, led to a dangerous area known for drug trafficking and robberies. Instead, he gave us an alternate route. Within minutes, his directions led us onto a hidden gravel road that, though completely unmarked, eventually reconnected us to the highway. We didn't say a word at first, but inside, I was shaken. We had been this close to driving into who knows what. Looking back, that day taught me something important. Listen to your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And sometimes protection comes in the form of unexpected strangers who show up at just the right time. Luke and I laugh about it now, but at the time it felt like stepping out of a trap just before it snapped shut. 5 summers ago, my girlfriend at the time, let us call her PS, and I set out on a dream trip across Europe. We'd been talking about it for years. She was half Croatian, half Brazilian, and wanted to see her family's roots in Croatia. I was all in. The only problem? We were broke. That meant staying in cheap Airbnbs, eating on a budget, and rolling with whatever came our way. Honestly, that was part of the adventure. Our trip started beautifully. Zagreb, Dubrovnik, all the big spots buzzing with tourists. But then we made it to Rijeka, a smaller port city. Unlike the crowded tourist hubs, this place felt more raw and local. PS loved it. She could speak enough Croatian to get by, and I was just excited to soak it all in. On our second day, we decided to wander outside the main center to try an authentic seafood spot PS had heard about. The place was tiny, almost hidden. When we walked in, the smell of fresh grilled fish hit us, and I thought, we found gold. But halfway through our meal, everything shifted. 5 men walked in, sitting just a couple tables away. They looked rough, like the kind of guys you'd cross the street to avoid. At first, they didn't pay us much attention, but then PS froze. She leaned across the table and whispered, "We need to leave, right now." I didn't argue. I tossed cash on the table and we walked out quickly. Outside, I finally asked what was wrong. Her voice shook as she explained. She'd overheard the men talking in Croatian. They weren't joking. They were planning what they were going to do to us, to her. Step 1, separate us. Step 2, let someone named Luca handle it. My stomach dropped. When I glanced back, the men were already standing outside, watching us. And then they started walking toward us. We ran. Through quiet residential streets, turning randomly, desperate to reach the busy city center. Their footsteps followed us. 5 men chasing 2 foreigners through unfamiliar streets. My lungs burned, but adrenaline pushed me forward. Finally, after what felt like forever, we saw crowds, cars, life. The men stopped, just stood there in the distance watching, knowing they couldn't move on us anymore. At a cafe in the main square, an older local overheard our story. His face went grim. He told us we had walked straight into a known criminal hangout tied to organized crime. "You're lucky you ran," he said. "Don't go back." That was it. Trip over. We spent the rest of our time hiding in our Airbnb, counting down until our flight. And here's the truth. That experience changed me. It changed her too. We realized how quickly an ordinary day can twist into something dangerous, especially when you're far from home. But I'll always be grateful for PS's instincts. She trusted her gut. And because of that, we got out. The lesson? Awareness can save your life. Adventure is beautiful, but never ignore the signs. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't running towards something, it's running away.